Gimel Hay.
Okay, for these plagues we found the shofar everywhere. And we sound the shofar everywhere for wind blasts and for yellowing of grain, for the numerous locusts, and for the finishing locusts, for a wild beast, and for the sword. We sound the shofar on these occasions because each is considered a traveling plague. It once happened the elders ascended from Jerusalem to Jerusalem to the cities and decreased a fast because of the wind blast the size of an oven's mouth was seen on grain in Ascalon. They further decreed a fast because wolves had devoured two children beyond the Jordan River. Rabbi Yossi said the fast was decreed not because they devoured the children, but merely because they were seen in the city during the day. In these cases, we cry out even on Shabbos. If the city was surrounded by hostile Gentiles or by a flooding river, or if a ship is stormed as a storm tossed at sea, Rabbi Yossi says we may call upon the people to assemble their assistance, but not for supplication. Shimon the Timnite says also concerning pestilence, but the Chachamim did not agree with him. Okay.
E- All right, now we got a fun story. Um, Al kol tzar shelo tavo al hatzibor. Interesting, the phrasing in Hebrew is in a very euphemistic way. On it literally it says for every trouble that should not come upon the tzibor. But what it really means is any trouble that does happen to the tzibor. Masriyan aleha. We can blow the shofar if it's a severe enough thing. And chutz me rov geshamim, except we don't do anything about too much rain. Very nice and applicable for today. Um,
Right.
yeah, okay, because rain is intrinsically considered a bracha, and even if it's inconvenient, and even if it's reaching the point of people having to leave their homes to go to higher ground, as we will see in this Mishnah. Maaseh she'amru lo lechoni hamagel. So there was a situation where there was a major drought going on in Eretz Israel, and they came to Choni Hamagel, who was known to be a big tzaddik. Okay. Here's Palel Sheyerdu Geshamim. Please pray for rain for us. Then as now, there was a tradition that you go to a tzaddik and ask him for a bracha and ask him to daven for you, and that's in this case, it's going to be particularly efficacious. Amar Lahim. Okay, okay, he says to them, he's confident. Tzu v'hachnisu tanarei pesachim. Go and get your ovens that you're busy making now for the Korban Pesach, um, and that haven't yet been fired, because bishvil shelo yimoku, so that they shouldn't get dissolved in the rain that's coming. Okay, so they're still soft clay and they haven't yet been baked. So he said, bring them inside so that they shouldn't get dissolved by the rain. And everyone's looking outside saying like it's just pure sunshine. What the heck? Okay, but fine. So Choni goes out and starts davening. V'lo yardu geshamim. Nah, didn't work. Ma'asa. So what does Choni do? And we'll see why he's called Choni Hamagel. Ag ugav amad besocha. So he drew a circle on the ground, uh, and this is why he's called Choni Hamagel, because he made the circle. Okay, so he made the circle and he stood inside it. Amar lefanav Ribbono shel olam banecha samu pneihem alai. He says, Hashem, your children have turned to me. She'ani kaben bayis lefanecha, because I am like somebody who lives in your home. Nishba ani b'shemcha hagadol. I take an oath in your great name. She'eni zaz mikan. I will not leave the circle. Ad she'tirachem al banecha, until you have compassion on your children. Okay, that did something. So his chilu geshamim menatfin. So rain started coming down in a very light drizzle. Not good enough for Choni. Amar, lo kach sha'alti. He said, that's not what I asked for. Ela gishmei boros shichin umaros. I want rain that's going to fill the cisterns and the ditches and the caves. Is chilu lered bezaf. Okay, right. You want that? Fine. Out comes a massive thunderstorm, pounding rain, heavy, heavy, hard rain. Amar, lo kach sha'alti. He said, this is not what I asked for. Ela gishmei ratzon bracha nodava. He said, "This I wanted rain that comes down with favor, with blessing, with goodness,
Great. Right.
right, grace. This is what I want." Okay. Yadu Kasiknan. So they started coming down the way that Choni wanted finally. עד שיצאו ישראל מירושלים להר הבית מפני הגשמים. Because now the water was flowing so hard in some places that they had to leave their homes and come up to Har HaBayis, because there at least there was it was high ground and they weren't threatened by the waters. Ba'al v'amru, and they said, okay, okay, you did a great job. Kishem ispalalta aleihim sheyerdu, kach ispalal sheyelchu lahin. We've got enough rain. This is really enough. Please, can you ask them to stop? No can do, says Choni. Amar lahin su'u u'ru'u im nimches even hatoim. Tell me, is the even hatoim, which is it was the designated place for people who had lost an object to or who had found an object to meet up. So they would get together and say, "I found a jacket. Does anyone does anyone want to come and claim it with simanim, etc." So that's called the Even HaToim. It was in a high place, um, and Choni says to them sarcastically, "Tell me, has that stone been covered yet?" And in other words, I'm not davening unless it's becoming a pikuach nefesh because there's nowhere else for people to go to. It says, otherwise, rain is a bracha, and I will not daven for it to stop. So that point over there, that last sentence is the whole point of the Mishnah. Because we started off the Mishnah by saying that we can daven for any tzara except for too much rain.
Right.
And
Okay.
this is the point that Choni Magil is making. I'll daven for too little rain, but I'm not going to daven about too much rain. Okay. Shalach lo Shimon bin Shatach. So Shimon bin Shatach, who was the Nasi of the time. Ilmale Choni ata. All right. If you were not Choni Amagel, gozreni alecha nidoy, I would have put you in Cherem. Because the way that you spoke to Hakadosh Baruch Hu was absolutely disgraceful. You don't talk to a human being like that. If you spoke to a Talmid Chacham like that, you'd be put in Nidoy. Kal v'chomer Hashem. Aber man eselach, what can I do to you? She'ata mischate lifnei hamakom v'oseh lach retzonach. Because you just you purify yourself before Hashem, and He just does your will. Hashem just does what you want. It's like a boy having a tantrum in front of his father, and the father just does whatever he wants. ועליך הכסף אומר, ישמח אביך ואימך וסגל יולדתך. So the pasuk says in Mishnah that your father and mother take joy and rejoice in their children. So he's like kind of incredulous at Choni, saying your behavior is just incredible, but Hashem seems to love you, and therefore I cannot take any action against you.
All right.
Okay, that's a fun story. I love it. Anyway, um, Mishnah test. Hayu misanin v'yardu lahem geshamim kodim hanetzachama. So back into our question of we're having all these series of fasts about what's going about not enough rain, and we're in one of these 24-hour fasts, and overnight the rain starts falling. So what do they do? So if the rain fell before sunrise, lo yashlimu, then that's it. The fast is over because they've been answered, and we can cancel the fast. However, if the rain only fell after sunrise, when they've already started the main body of the fast, even though it's a 24-hour fast, but the ikar of the fast is during the day, as anyone who's fasted 24 hours can tell you. The night of Yom Kippur is nothing. You go to sleep, not a problem. You wake up in the morning, you feel like a bit of breakfast.
That's true.
Okay. Okay, so once you've started the fast in the main thing, you still have to finish it, even if the rain has started coming down. Rabbi Eliezer disagrees. He says, "Kodim chatzos lo yashlim." He says the difficult part of the fast is after people miss their first main meal, which is lunchtime. So once you've missed lunch, if you haven't missed lunch yet, then there's no need to complete the fast. La'achar chatzos yashlim. But they've been fasting until lunchtime, then yeah, they have started the fast officially, and they cannot stop. Maaseh shegazru Taanis belud. So it happened that there was a fast in Lud because of too little rain. V'yardu lahem geshamim kodim chatzos. So in the morning the rain fell. Amal lahem Rabbi Tarfon tza'u v'ichlu v'shasu v'asu yom tov. And he paskened like Rabbi Eliezer that the rain has fallen. We've cancelled the fast. Go eat and drink and be merry. And v'yatzu v'achlu v'shasu v'asu yom tov ubau bein ha'arbaim. And they came back after in the afternoon. V'karu halal hagadol, and they recited the halal hagadol, which is not the halal that we are thinking of that we say on Rosh Chodesh and Yom Tov. It's the extra Tehillim Hodu Lashem Kitov Kidim Chasto, that long one with the 26 yeah 26 psukim, right? Which contains the pasuk Nosin lechem lochol basar kile lam chasto. So it culminates with Nosin lechem lochol basar kile lam chasto hodu lekel hashemayim kile lam chasto. So we say the praise to Hashem for giving water, which in turn gives food. And again, water is the most important liquid in the world, because without water you can't make coffee.
Right.
Okay, Perik Daled Aleph. B'shlosha prakim b'shana kohanim nosim eskapeihem. So here's an interesting factoid. The reason why kohanim only do birkas kohanim in the morning is because they haven't eaten or drunk yet, and there's an isser for kohanim to duchen when they have had alcohol to drink. Okay, so there are so when there's a fast day, then we don't have such a problem. So there are 3 times a year when kohanim duchen, 4 times in the day. Okay, b'shachris, musaf, mincha, and ne'ilah sha'arim. So we have on Yom Kippur we think is normally the only time that we have an extra ne'ilah prayer, but it turns out that on the major fast days, when they have those sessions, those things of seven, the series of 7 fasts, the 24-hour fasts, we also have a ne'ilah tefillah then. Although, that's fallen into disuse, we don't do it nowadays. But in the times when they would have these fasts, they would also have a ne'ilah prayer, and the kohanim would get up and bless the people at ne'ilah as well, because once they haven't been drinking. Okay, but Taanis of Ma'amados of Yom HaKippurim. So on fast days, on Ma'amados, also on the Ma'amados, these are the prayers of the people of the Ma'amad. That's the Yisraelim who come from around the country, as we will see in the coming Mishnayos. Tomorrow we're going to describe what the Ma'amados are, but also on Yom Kippur there would also be a ne'ilah for at which the Kohanim would duchen. Okay, and that's by way of introduction to tomorrow's Mishnah.
Right.
Okay, back to the beginning.
Well, when do we mention the powers of rain? Reb Eliezer says from the first yontiv of the festival. Reb Shua says from the last yontiv of the festival. Reb Shua said to him, since rain is but a symptom of curse during the festival, why mention it? Reb Eliezer replied to him, I too did not say to request rain, but merely to mention it because of the wind to blow and rain to fall in its proper season. He responded, as so, one should always mention the powers of rain. We do not request rain except close to the rainy season. Rabbi Yehuda says of those Chazanim who stand before the ark on the last yontiv of the festival, the last cousin mentions the powers of rain, but the first cousin does not mention it. On the first yontiv of Pesach, the first cousin mentions the powers of rain, but the last cousin does not mention it. Until when do we request rain? Rabbi Yehuda says until Pesach is over. Rabbi Meir says until Nisan is over, and as I said, he caused the rain to fall for the early rain and the late rain in the first month. On the third day of Malchashvan, we request rain. Rabbi Gamil says on the 7th day, 15 days after the festival, so much of the last pilgrim straggler of Israel may reach to Euphrates River. Okay.
Sukkah.
Okay. Dalva. Just as it was performed on the weekday, so it was performed on the Sabbath, except that they gathered them on the eve of the Sabbath and placed them in golden vessels so they could not wilt. Rabbi Yochanan Baruch says they brought date palm branches and beat them on the ground at the size of the altar. That day was called the day of the beating of the date palm branches. Immediately the children loosened their lulav and ate their esrogim. How are the recitation of the Hallel in the midst of rejoicing done for 8 days? This teaches that a man is obligated in the recital of the Hallel in the midst of rejoicing and the honor of the last festival of Sukkot. Like all the other days of Sukkot, how is the mitzvah of Sukkot observed for 7 days? When one has finished eating, he may not take a part in Sukkah, but he may take down his utensils from Mincha and later in honor of the festival day of Sukkot. Okay. And should be one more. How is it? Right? One more? Right.
No, 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 that's it.
Sure? Oh,
Yeah,
you're right.
because there's one short
Right.
one. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Whew. Ervin. Ervin. Chet Gimel. In the residence of a courtyard and the residence of a galley, four forgot to make an Erev. Whatever is higher than 10 fifths, four belongs to the galley. Less than that is to the courtyard. The embankment around a pit or karat, which is 10 fifths high, belongs to the gallery. Less than that to the courtyard. To what do these words apply? To that which is near. But that which is at the distance, even if it is 10 tefachim high, belongs to the courtyard. And what is considered near, whatever is not, is 4 fifths away. Oh, sorry. If one places the Arab at a gatehouse, a colonnade, or a gallery, the Arab is not valid, and one who lives there does not restrict it. In a silo barn, which is a storehouse, the Arab is valid, and one who lives there restricts it. But Yehuda says that the owner retains that holding the area does not restrict him, and one who left his house and went to spend the Sabbath in another town, either whether a Gentile or Jew, restricts. These are the words of Meah. Yehuda says he does not restrict. Rabbi Yossi says the Gentile restricts, a Jew does not restrict, for it is unusual for a Jew to return on Sabbath. And Simeon says even one who left his house and wanted to spend the Sabbath at his daughter's house in the same town does not restrict. He's already dismissed any thought of returning from his mind. Okay. Oh. Well, be paid down. If one buys from a bread seller, he must tithe every mold. So says Reb Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says from one for all. Rabbi Yehuda repeats that when one buys from a monopolist, he must tithe every mold. If one buys from the poor, so too if a poor man is given pieces of bread and fragments of fig cake, he must tithe each one. But in the case of dates and dried figs, he may mix them together and take. Rabbi Yehuda said when the gift is large, but when the gift is small, he separates the tithe from each one. If one buys from a wholesaler and then buys again, he should not separate tithes from one or the other, not even from the same container, not even if it's of the same kind. The wholesaler may be believed when he says they are from one.
Okay.
And Elam, Kashud. Regarding one who met a tummy mace touched, I'm sorry, regarding one who a tummy mace touched and who had foods and beverages in his mouth, if he inserted his head into a towel or oven, they render a tummy. If a towel person had food or beverages in his mouth and inserted his head into the airspace of a tummy earthenware oven, they are rendered tummy. If one was eating a pressed fig with soiled hands and inserted his hand into his mouth to remove a pebble, May removes a tummy. Or Rabbi Yehuda removes a towel. Rabbi Yossi says that he turned it over in his tummy, but if he did not turn it over in his tower and if there was opinion in his mouth, Rabbi Yossi says it was fit to relieve his thirst in his tummy. Regarding women whose breast milk dripped and the milk fell into the airspace of an oven in his tummy, for an beverage can transmit tumor whether one was pleased or was not pleased. If she was shoveling out ashes of the oven and a thorn hit her and she bled or she was burned, then put her finger into her mouth, the oven becomes tummy. Regarding a needle or a ring that was found in the floor of an oven, visible but not protruding into the oven, if one bakes dough and it touches the ring or needle, the oven is tummy. With regard to which kind of dough they state, this intermediate dough. If they were found in the coating of an oven surrounded by a sealed cover, they are in a tummy oven. If they are tummy, they are in a tummy oven, even if they are tahor. If they were found in the stopper of a barrel outside, they are tummy. Opposite its mouth, they are tahor. If they are visible from within but do not protrude into an airspace, they are tahor. If they were sunken into it and under it was like a garlic peel, they are tahor.
Okay.
Okay. Here. And what's about it? Above dollar. If one says to another, I'm selling you half the field, they divide the field between them qualitatively. And if he takes half from his field, he said, I'm selling you the southern half. They divide the field between the qualitatively, and he takes equal to the southern half. He accepts upon himself the place for the fence, a wide ditch or a narrow ditch. How is a wide ditch? 6 buckham, and a narrow ditch, 3. There are those who inherit and bequeath, and those who inherit but do not bequeath, who bequeath but do not inherit, and who neither inherit nor bequeath. These inherit and bequeath. A father and his sons, sons and his father, and brothers from the same father inherit and bequeath. A man his mother, a man his wife, and his sister's sons inherit but do not bequeath. A woman her sons, and a woman her husband, and a mother's brothers bequeath but do not inherit. Brothers by from the same mother neither inherit nor bequeath. The order of inheritance is as follows. If a man should die and he has no son, he shall transfer legacy to his daughter. A son takes precedence over a daughter, and all the descendants of a son take precedence over a daughter. A daughter takes precedence over brothers, and none of the descendants of the daughter take precedence over brothers. Brothers take precedence over the father's brothers, and the descendants of brothers take precedence over the father's brothers. This is the rule. Whoever takes precedence in the inheritance, the descendants take precedence. But the father takes precedence over all his descendants. The
Okay,
daughters of
that's it. We're done.
okay. All right.
Okay. Have a
Have a
lovely
great
day.
day.
Enjoy the rain and a beautiful
Yeah.
wet day to everyone.
Stay dry. Okay.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.